Alright guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today. For this one, we are going to do another out and about video for you. So today, I'm in Kent, which is in the kind of northwestish part of Connecticut, and we're going to have a little look at this brewery behind me. So this one is Kent Falls Brewing Company. I have had, I think, 2 of their beers on the channel before, and they were very good. So definitely cool to come and have a little look at the brewery. So we'll do as we always do, we'll go in, we'll have a little look around, we'll try some of the beers and we'll see how we get on. So let's get started with this one. I have to say it is in quite a picturesque little location, so let's do this. Alright guys, well this is Kent Falls Brewing Company. You can see it almost looks a little bit Scandinavian, to be honest, with these kind of red and white wooden buildings, but yeah, over there you've got this lovely little lake as well, so I need to go down and have a wee look at that. Might film a wee kind of panorama thing for the video, but we'll just see. So yeah, up here, if you come up this way, you can see this is the brewery building actually, and over there they've got the farm HQ. Apparently this is one of only 2 counties in this is only one of 2 counties in Connecticut where they have farming, but you can actually come right into the brewery and see it. So this is kind of cool. They've got a bunch of their labels here over their cold store, which is really kind of interesting to see. But yeah, they've got their fermentation tanks all along here. You can see some, I think these ones are going to be the bright tanks as well, because they've got the flat bottom. They've got their kind of fodder bright tank as well. Just a little 2 vessel system, and then you can see over the back here they've got a bunch of other fermenters. So yeah, quite an interesting little setup here. If you need the bathroom, you are actually going to have to walk past the brewery to get there, but yeah, lots of these kind of cardboard things there as well. But yeah, that's the brewery symbol, Kent Falls Brewing Company. So yeah, little quick look at the brewery for you there, and all of these really nice labels. I have to say, I've enjoyed being in Connecticut this time. It's been very picturesque, but I would just like to have a little closer look at these before we walk round and have a little look at the tap room. So yeah, some really nice labels there, as you can see. Shower beer, that one kind of caught my eye. Lime zest goza. That is nice, but as you said, this is quite a sort of farmhousey type brewery. Lots of pale ales, saisons, you know, lighter sour beers, kettle sours and things like that. There's the unicorn, my national animal. The unicorns are making us do this. I quite like that. But yeah, that's it. So as I say, this is your brewery setup here. So if we go back out into the sort of courtyard, as I say, you can see it's very picturesque. J-Man's taking a little walk. And yeah, the tap room itself is over here. One thing you can see as well, this is actually a solar panel array. So yeah, this brewery runs on pretty much 100% clean energy from what I understand. But yeah, your tasting room is this little building here. So I have to say it's pretty unique. We're here on a Sunday. We're actually the only people that are here at the moment. It's very, very quiet. But there you can see, welcome to Kent Falls Brewing Company. You can buy your pork and chicken and stuff like this that's raised on the farm here. And yeah, if you come through here, you've got the bar, which is quite nice. And as I say, you've got this room here, which is really cool. And then if you come out here, you've got an outdoor area, which is also really quite pretty. And as I say, there's that solar panel array. And yeah, it's just really quite nice. It's been quite muggy in terms of the weather and things recently, but I have to say it's a really nice, just picturesque part of the world. This New England is Very, very pretty. So yeah, they've also got this game. I've noticed this is very popular in America, that, you know, you have this thing where you have to try and get the ring on the little hook there. Very popular sort of drunk game in America, it seems. But yeah, that's it. So it's time to go in and get some beer then. So let's do this. Let's get started. Alright guys, so here's the tap list at Kent Falls. So we're here on the 10th of September 2023. So today they've got 8 beers on tap and a few cans and things like that you can get. So yeah, you can see Superscript IPA at 6% ABV, the Hollow Pilsner at 5% ABV, the Buddy Sprinkle Safe as Day, which is another IPA at 6.5%, the Never Sink Wheat, which is a wheat beer with gin botanicals. Then they've got a new IPA at 6.6%, the Public, which is an English mild. Then they've got the Spry, a farmhouse ale with rhubarb and sumac, I'm not sure what that is. And then they've got the Field beer, which is a Saison at 5.2%. And you can obviously get some of those cans there as well, and you can get growlers to take away. So yeah, pretty nice. Alright guys, well, time for our first tasting then here at Kent Falls Brewing in Kent in Connecticut. So the first beer that we're going to start off with is a really nice one to begin with. You know, you can't go wrong starting off making videos with this kind of beer. So this one is called the Hollow. It comes in at 5% ABV, and this one is a Pilsner. So yeah, when it poured, it had about a finger, just under a finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white coloured head. You can see it's got a lovely kind of pale golden straw colour to it, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, and a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head there. But overall, it does look pretty nice, and it looks as if it has a little bit of natural haze to it as well. Remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. 2, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. Any barrel aging you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour too, but you don't often have to care about that with Pilsners. Remember as well, there are 2 different types of Pilsners, the Czech Pilsner and the German one. The Czech ones for me tend to be a little bit more kind of creamy in their mouthfeel and a little bit more spicy in their hop character. The German ones tend to be quite clean, but at the same time very dry, owing to their malty nature. And remember, this style comes from Pilsen in the Czech Republic. So yeah, that's a little bit of history of the Pilsner for you. But as I say, this one looks pretty much as you would expect of the style. Let's have a wee look at the nose on this one and see what it's all about. Oh yeah, that's really nice. I'm going to say straight away, very just like, first impression of this one is that it comes across as a very sort of smooth, soft, creamy Pilsner. Yeah, smells lovely, really, really nice smelling beer, I have to say. So on the backbone of this beer, I'd say you've got a lovely little bit of that fresh white bready bread crust in there. There is a little bit of a woody and a crackery undertone, as you're often going to get with more farmhouse beers, and you know, Kent Falls is a sort of farmhousey leaning brewery. I think that's absolutely fair to say. So you've got a little bit more of a yeasty character coming out of this Pilsner. You have got a little bit of the kind of Pilsner malty dryness in the back of the nose, but overall, this one is actually kind of wet and sort of sweet in its malty characters. So yeah, the way that this one goes together, I think, is really quite nice. You do have a little touch of sweetness in there. There's a little bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive type sweetness on the malt base too. But it does smell really pretty nice, actually. Lovely smelling beer in terms of its malty and yeasty character, and it's very important to get that right when it comes to Pilsner beers, actually. On the hoppy side of things, I think this one is German hopped because it's got that lovely kind of smoothness to it. It could be Slovenian hopped as well, right enough. But yeah, you've got a lovely little touch of like smooth earthiness in there, a little bit of a herbal character as well. But then, yeah, nice kind of wee floral aromatic note, wet grassiness as well. And yeah, the way it goes together, I think, is really, really nice, in fact. So, yeah, I really like how this one pieces together. on the green component, I think that's everything we really need to say. When it comes to the fruity side of this beer, it kind of is what you'd expect. There's a little touch of like oily pear in there, a little bit of a kind of apricot-y character as well, and then a wee bit of like fresh green apple and maybe gooseberry. I'd be very curious to know what hops have been put in this. It smells like it could be a little bit of Hallertau Blanc or something like this, because it has that German noble character, but just a wee bit more of a soft kind of fruitiness to it. So yeah, maybe Hallertau Blanc would be a good indicator of what's in here. I don't know if it actually says what's this one. I think this is the can menu and the bottle menu. There's not actually the tap menu on this. So yeah, let me see. Does it say? No, it actually doesn't. No, it just says our farm's go-to Pilsner. So yeah, this one, I think we've covered everything we need to say about the aroma. Let's have a taste of this one then and see what it's all about. This is the Hollow coming in at 5% ABV, our first beer here at Kent Falls Brewing. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. As I say, this is quite a yeast-forward Pilsner for me. But it says as well that it uses northeastern grown Endeavour barley, so I'm getting the sort of grainy earthiness out of this one, which is quite unique. I don't think I've really come across this too often before. So yeah, I recognise this kind of character actually from. It gives you this sort of like farmhousey, almost like rye bready, grainy sort of thing to the beer, and you notice that. I've noticed this in some of the Alchemist beers actually from Vermont. So this is quite interesting. So yeah, for me, the backbone of the beer, fresh white bready bread crust for sure. On that middle third of the palate, there's a little bit of woodiness and crackeriness coming out too. But yeah, you've got a crackery layer on top of the bread crust, a layer of like a wholemeal brown bready sort of thing in there. Yeah, wholemeal brown bread. That really is quite grainy, and I think that's just the nature of this particular barley variety that they're using in here. Then on top of that kind of wholemeal brown bready character, you get a softer, more fluffy white bread. At the back of that middle third of your palate, you do have a nice little bit of, you've got a little bit of like Pilsner malty dryness there, and then just in front of that, there's a little circle in the middle of your palate that's a very, very slight biscuity note, but this is a more sort of yeasty and farmhousey leaning Pilsner. It's quite interesting actually. Yeah, it does get a bit sweeter the more that you drink of it for sure. So back third of your palate, you can feel the kind of bread crusty nature of this beer is a little bit more kind of grainy and bread crusty for sure. You can feel it's a bit drier. The crackery note is there, and again that's drier. When you go above that, you can feel there's a sort of light and fluffy, the wholemeal brown bready layer is kind of lighter and more fluffy. The same with the white bready character. Then above that, you get some of the drier aspects of the Pilsner malt just creeping their way over the top of that. Then you've got the yeasty side of the beer. For me, the yeasty side of this beer is a bit more kind of dense and, yeah, it's a little bit more dense and kind of, it's like a sweet white bread with a little bit of a kind of peppery, crackery type note around it. And yeah, definitely, back third of your palate, the flavour feels taller then as you come further forward into the middle third of your tongue. It just kind of, pardon me, squashes down together and pushes together that little bit more. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, you've got a little touch of herbal character, and as you push further forward, this beer actually does give you a little bit of a floral, aromatic, spicy sort of thing, especially further into the aftertaste. Round the front curve of the tongue, the beer is lighter and more grassy, and then yeah, on that front third of your palate, you've got the flavours you'd expect. So the backbone of the beer, lovely fresh white bready bread crust in there. On top of that, you have yeah, fresh white bready bread crust, wholemeal brown bread, soft white bread on top of that. Then you've got that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So yeah, on the fruity side of things, it's what you'd expect. At the back, there's a little bit of sultana, you know, white, sort of green raisins. As you move further forward, it shows you a little bit more of an oily pear. There's maybe a teeny touch of like a really dry apricot in the middle, and a wee bit of a fresh green apple on top at the front, and then a little bit of oily gooseberry. All things that you would expect of this style of beer. To round off then with the mouthfeel, it's definitely light-bodied. The carbonation is very, very smooth. It has a little bit of oiliness to it, but it feels quite clean at the same time. The IBUs are what you'd expect. I'd say 25 in this one, maybe pushing 30. And the malt base, bit of dryness underneath, smoothness in the middle, little touch of sweetness on top. Then you've also got that little bit of just kind of juicy, wet, fruity character to it. But that's a nice Pilsner, definitely a very sort of farmhousey take on the style for me. But I think we can leave it at that for this one. So this is this was the Hollow, a Pilsner at 5% ABV. Really interesting one. I think we're going to do one or two more videos when we're here. We'll see how much we've got time for, but definitely one more. Catch you guys in a second with something else. Cheers. So yeah guys, just a little quick look at the merchandise for you. Obviously you can buy a nice, I think that's a 9-ounce pour glass there, and you can also get the kind of cup one, but they've got a few t-shirts and things just up the back there. So there you can see different colours there, different symbols for some of the beers. Then they've got a little cap and a little baby grow. So yeah, looks nice. Does look very nice stuff actually. So yeah, a few bits of merchandise that you can get here at Kent Falls. There you go. Alright guys, well, time for tasting number 2 then here at Kent Falls. So the next beer that we're going to have a little look at is a style that I haven't reviewed all that many of on the out and about segments that we've done on the channel before. So this one is called Field Beer. It comes in at 5.2% ABV, and this one is a Saison. So yeah, it should be quite nice. One of their kind of more regularly produced beers from what I understand. But yeah, when this beer poured, again it had a kind of half finger of a frothy, I would have said, kind of cream coloured head. It has faded away to be a nice kind of thinner foamy layer of course, and you can see that this one is the kind of colour you would expect of the style, a nice kind of lighter straw leaning yellow colour. One or two big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head there. But yeah, a little bit of natural haze to it as well, and this is of course something that you would expect from the Saison style. Basically a Belgian farmhouse beer, this one. That's what the Saisons were, farmhouse beers from Belgium. But yeah, nothing else we really need to say about the appearance of this one, so let's have a wee look at the aroma and see what this beer is all about. Oh, that's nice. It's actually a kind of sharper smelling Saison. You know, for me, Saisons, some of them can be really bready and smooth. Some of them can be a little bit more kind of just like sort of bready, if you like. And you do get the ones like this that have a little bit of a kind of sharper character to them, and that's immediately what jumps out of this beer at me. It's just the kind of sharpness and that slight sourness that it has. It's really nice. Yeah, lovely smelling beer, this one. As I say, it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, so the backbone of the beer, you do get a little bit of that fresh white bready bread crust coming out of it. There's a wee bit of cracker for sure. The malty and yeasty side of this beer isn't a million miles away from what we had with the Pilsner actually. And I do apologise if I'm fidgeting in this video a little bit. I think there's mosquitoes around, so I'm probably going to get the shit bitten out of me, but it's just how it goes. The troubles I go to film beer reviews for you guys here, you know. But yeah, as I say, on top of that, so you get a little bit of fresh white bread crust, cracker, mainly a white bread in this one. There's a teeny little bit of like a butterscotchy butter candy sort of thing. And other than that, I don't know if there's too much to report on the malty side of things. As I say, it has just a little bit of a kind of woody character and things like that. And the woodiness and spiciness of this beer gets a little bit bigger into the nose the further you go, and that's something again that you would expect of the style. So yeah, I really do like how that pieces together. Yeah, aroma wise, the malty yeasty side of things is really nice. On the hoppy side of the beer, there's not too much to report there. There's a little bit of earthiness to it. You've got a bit of floral character as well, but it's quite a wet, leafy sort of. It's quite a wet, leafy sort of grassiness that comes out of this one, and I think that's really nice as well. So yeah, the way that goes together, I think, is really very, very nice. Yeah, but then the other thing is with the fruity side of this beer, like the actual fruit from the hops in this one will be, it's kind of like a little bit peary, a little bit gooseberry-like. There's a little bit of a sharper citricy type note with this one as well. So you've got that lemony, sharp, citricy kind of note, which does actually dominate the aroma a little bit. It wouldn't have surprised me if there was a little bit of peach or something in this, but I don't think there is. But still, the aroma of this one is pretty damn nice actually. Gets a big thumbs up from me. I really like how this one pieces together. Yeah, aroma wise, it's good stuff. So, as I always say, take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But I think it's about time that we have a taste of this one then and just see what it's all about. So this one is the Field Beer, coming in at 5.2% ABV, a Saison. Sláinte, skål, cheers. Ooh, that's nice. I'm going to say straight away, it comes in and it's got this lovely big, it has got this lovely kind of like wet and slightly sharp, this lovely kind of wet, slightly sharp beginning to it, but it mellows out really nicely. And one of the things I've always said about sour beers and farmhouse beers is if they have a little bit of sourness, I always look for a good transition. I want the beer to transition really nicely from that sweeter, from that sharper beginning to be more mellow, and this one does it really, really nicely. So big thumbs up from me with this beer. So yeah, so easy to drink this one as well. It's just a shame they're only doing the very small pours, because it would be quite easy just to have a whole pint of this actually. And I would want, to be honest, with these tastings, I do want a little bit more than just this tiny short one. I want maybe 250, 200 millilitres, something like that. But yeah, middle third of your palate then, the backbone of the beer. Lovely, very smooth, almost woody, oaky type backbone there. On top of that, there's a little bit of a fresh white bready bread crust. So yeah, woody kind of character, a little bit of fresh white bready bread crust in there. And then on top of that, you've got the fluffy white bread, which is great. So yeah, fluffy white bread. But that does actually take a back seat to the kind of acidity in this beer. It's got that almost above the little bit of white bread. The white bready layer is quite thin. It has that kind of almost like tongue sweaty acidity type thing to it. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, above the white bread, you do get a layer of like, there is like a little circle in the middle of your palate, which is a kind of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy type thing. So yeah, the way that goes together, I think, is really, really quite nice. So yeah, the middle third of the palate on this beer is lovely. Saisons for me have always been quite a simple beer, but it's just the aftertaste that you get out of them, the kind of woody, funky sort of thing, is lovely. So yeah, I think that covers the middle third of the palate. So you just get that kind of funky, woody sort of thing sitting on top. The back third of your palate, again, is quite similar. You've got the woodiness in the base, a little bit of cracker on top of that, and these layers are a bit drier than the middle third of the palate. You can feel the white bready layer is a little bit more kind of fluffy and airy on top of that. And then, yeah, you have the wee bit of, as I say, you've got the wee bit of just yeasty character sitting on top of that. And the yeasty side of the beer for me is like a slightly sweet wholemeal brown bread. Got a very slight like peppery spice to it, and it's just wrapped in kind of honeycomb. So yeah, it's lovely. And yeah, definitely back third of your palate the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your palate, it kind of squashes down a little bit together. Hoppy side of things. Back corners of the palate, you've got a lovely little bit of earthiness in there, but very smooth earthiness. As you move further forward, there's a wee bit of herbal character there, and as you push further forward toward the front corners of your palate, it's a little bit floral, but it's quite wet and kind of leafy in that sense, and round the front curve of your tongue, it does have a little bit of, it has a little bit more of a kind of zesty, grassy sort of thing, but the green component in this beer is very, very wet and very soft actually, which I do like. Yeah, on the front third of your palate then, the backbone of the beer, lovely, smooth, soft, woody kind of thing in there. On top of that, you do get a little bit of brown bread, and then you get that nice oily bubble where the fruity esters from the hops come out of the beer. The fruits are quite simple in this one. So yeah, for me, the fruity side of this beer is it's kind of like there's a little bit of sultana and raisin in there, but yeah, more sultana, you know, dry, you know, white green raisins. As you move further forward, a little bit oily and peary once again, then maybe just behind the very front tip of the tongue, it's almost a slight touch limey. Motueka wouldn't surprise me if that was one of the hops in this beer. So yeah, maybe Equinox could be a shout as well. But yeah, the fruity side from the hops is really quite interesting, but very, very wet, leafy sort of feel on this one. I think that covers everything we need to say about the flavour of this beer. So yeah, let's have a wee look at the mouthfeel then, just to round off. So yeah, for me, the mouthfeel on this beer, it's quite, as I said, the mouthfeel for me is quite, it's quite a wet and slightly oily mouthfeel. It's kind of mid-bodied, this one, very smooth carbonation, very clean once again. It feels like the water up here is in really good quality. In terms of IBUs, I think you're probably talking about 10 or 15 or something like that. The malt, as I said, it's got a little bit of dryness underneath, a little bit of smoothness, then you've got a very slight sweetness on top of that. Lovely, pardon me, very clean but slightly oily fruity notes. And then yeah, you've got a wee bit of, as I say, you've just got a little bit of a little bit of sharpness there in the beginning, which mellows out really, really nicely. But yeah, lovely saison, that, quite different to other ones I've had in recent times, but this is definitely a style that I wanted to check out while I was here at Kent Falls. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this one. This has been really interesting to try. So yeah, this was the Field Beer 5.2% ABV, a saison, our second beer here at Kent Falls. So I think we might have time for one more, and then that'll be that. So I'll catch you guys in a little second with something else. Cheers. Yeah guys, so they actually have quite a variety of selection here in terms of bottles and cans that you can take away. So yeah, they've got the Hollow Pilsner, they've got a Kulsch as well, the new IPA, the Fodder Hollow, which is another Pilsner, the Public, which is a Golden Mild Ale, Sweatpants, which is a Pale Ale, the Neversink Wheat, and if you come down here, there is the Awkward Hug, which is an IPA, the Perfect Kerning, which is another IPA, Buddy Sprinkle Saves the Day, another IPA, and then the Superscript IPA too. And over here, they've got a bunch of wild beers too, but you can just have a little look at the descriptors of these beers that they have up here on the cans. From what I understand, this brewery is very prolific and their output is fairly fast. So yeah, they tend to brew one batch of beer and that's it. But yeah, you can see here Family Vines 3, which is a farmhouse ale with Veltliner grapes. The Patio Chair, which is a buckwheat table beer. They've got the Field beer down here. Spry, which is a wild ale with rhubarb and sumac. The Oak Aged Campland 2020 edition. The Second Nature, which is an oak aged farmhouse ale with cherries. Cellarized Ruaka, an oak aged pale ale. The Grisette, which I'm guessing is a Grisette farmhouse ale with cherries. And yeah, Family Vines 2. Wavy Nature, an oak aged beer with peaches. And then the 2023, which is a dry hopped farmhouse ale. But yeah, you can have a little quick look at the descriptions of these as well if you're interested. But yeah, looks pretty nice. And over here, they've got the other ones. It seems the Spry is the newest one. Cellarized Ruaka would be one that would tickle my fancy as well. So yeah, nice selection of things that you can take away here at Kent Falls Brewing. So there you go. Alright guys, well, time for our third and final tasting then here at Kent Falls Brewing Company. So yeah, the last beer that we're going to have a little look at today is a style that is very popular just now. It was the style that I first tried from this brewery, and apparently this beer is one of their kind of flagship beers. I actually thought that Kent Falls didn't brew the same beer ever. I thought they kind of did new batches of different stuff all the time, and they do still experiment quite a lot, of course, but apparently they have a few kind of core range or flagship beers. So this particular beer is called Superscript. It comes in at 6% ABV, and as you might be able to see from the appearance, this one is a New England Hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA. So yeah, when it first poured, it had about a half finger of a frothy, I would say kind of cream coloured head. One or two big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass there, but not too many, I would say, and not much in the way visible going up toward the surface of the glass. But that has, of course, just faded away to be a very kind of thin, foamy layer. But you can see this beer, when you consider the fact that it's only a 6%er, the level of haze on this is pretty damn impressive, actually. This looks really, really nice. But yeah, I think to you guys it's appearing like a very kind of rich, bright yellow mango juice, but to me it's actually like very, very pale. It's a really kind of pale, almost, what would you say, like apricot juice colour or something like that. It's almost like, it's extremely pale. I haven't seen a New England IPA that's this pale in quite some time. So yeah, the level of haze that you have in this one is really impressive for the percentage. Remember, the level of haze in these New England IPAs depends on the oak content, the wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use as well. And it can vary from brewery to brewery and even beer to beer. But the level of haze on this for a 6%er is pretty damn impressive, I have to say. So yeah, in terms of the appearance of this one, it's pretty much what you would expect from the style. I don't think we have to say too much else about the appearance of this one. One thing I did forget to mention actually when we started this off was that the hops in this beer are Cascade, Strata, and also one called Michigan Copper, which I had never really come across before. So Cascade, as you know, is the classic American alpha acid hop, high alpha acid hop I should say, 8% alpha acid, usually gives you this lovely kind of oily, figgy and kind of grapefruity type note, very distinctive. Strata is a newer hop, about 16% alpha acid, gives you a little bit of melon and also a little bit of a gooseberry and fresh strawberry type thing. And then yeah, Michigan Copper, I had to look this up. Michigan Copper apparently comes in with about 8 to 10% alpha acid, gives you a good little bit of like a hibiscus flower apparently, and also a sort of black cherry. So we'll need to see if we get that in the aroma and the flavour with this one actually. But yeah, let's have a wee look at that aroma and just see what we get. aroma-wise, this one's, it smells lovely, I'll say that straight away, but aroma-wise, it smells extremely smooth and very juicy. As I've often said with New England IPAs, for me, with the malty and yeasty side of things, there are 6 ways these beers can lean. They can be more farmhousey and yeasty, they can be a little bit more kind of rye leaning and grainy. Those are a bit more common in American brewed New England IPAs, of course, but then you have the wheaty bitiness, the oaty creaminess, the barley malt bread, and the sweeter side of things, and that's the kind of way that the European New England IPAs evolved, as well as in other parts of the world, in my experience. But yeah, I've found in some of these beers that I've tried, I think it might just be the New England grains. I was thinking like Alchemist and stuff like this, they have a little bit more of an earthy character to them. But certainly with this one, to me, it strikes me as being very oaty leaning and very kind of creamy, actually. So yeah, lovely kind of oaty, creamy character to this one. The backbone of the beer is, of course, like a soft, fresh, white bready bread crust in there. There's a tiny little bit of woodiness, a little bit of cracker, but mainly a mix of like a very slight little hint of like a sweet wholemeal brown bread, a fluffy white bread just kind of sitting on top of that. And then, yeah, you've got, as I say, you've got a lovely little bit of, you just above the kind of fluffy white bread, you can smell there's a little touch of wheat in this one. I think if you take the aroma in, you do at the back of the nose get a little touch of bitiness out of the wheat. But American wheat, as I've said, for me is very, very smooth actually, so I really like how that pieces together. Certainly above that you've got the nice oaty kind of creamy character out of the beer, and as I've often said, the oaty character in New England IPAs usually is a very good indicator of how fresh your beer is. Essentially, the creamier the oats smell and taste, the fresher the beer is, the drier they are, the older it is. There's a very slight hint of like Werther's Original in this one too, but again, that's very, very minimal. Yeah, beautiful aroma on the malty side of things. On the hoppy side of things, the beer is what you'd expect. So there's a very, very slight earthiness to this one. Little tiny touch of floral character. It becomes a bit more apparent if you take the aroma in very, very deeply. And then you've also got a little bit of grassiness in there. But again, the green component is quite wet. But of course, with this being an IPA, a more heavily hopped forward beer than either the Pilsner or the Saison that we had before, the hoppy character is more apparent. Remember too that there are 3 kinds of hopping. Early edition hopping in the first hour of the wort boil gives you mainly bitterness and also a kind of deeper, dank aroma. And then you've got late edition hopping within the last half hour of the wort boil. That gives you a more kind of bright green component and flavour, and it gives you that brighter aroma as well. And then dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete, again that's quite similar. It gives you all flavour and aroma and a very bright green component and flavour. So yeah, I really do like how this one pieces together. So yeah, the way that this beer goes together, I think, is really very, very nice in that sense. Yeah, the green component is great. On the fruity side of things, for me it's interesting. Like, it's actually, I still get quite a lot of like apricot and kind of juicier, like sort of mango out of this one. I certainly get a lot of like fresh strawberry from the strata, but I also get a really nice kind of little bit of kind of like gooseberry or melon, which again that would be the strata. The black cherry note from the Michigan Copper, I think I'm not getting so much of. So yeah, that's a really interesting point to make about this beer. I find this one really quite interesting. So yeah, I think that's everything we need to say about the aroma. As I always say, take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of your beer before you get stuck in. But I think we can leave it at that for this one. So yeah, let's have a wee taste of this one and then see how we go. This one is the Superscript 6% New England IPA, our last beer here at Kent Falls. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Oh, now that's interesting. This is a little bit different on the flavour, and I will say you can tell this is very, very fresh. The creaminess of the oats in this is really interesting. So yeah, backbone of the beer, lovely fresh kind of white bready bread crust in there. Further forward on that middle third of the palate, of course, you've got that little hint of woody character there, bit of cracker above it, then you've got a wholemeal brown bready note, a fluffy white bready character on top of that as well. Yeah, wholemeal brown bread, fluffy white bread sitting on top of it. Get a bit sweaty. And then, yeah, above all of that, you have this, above the fluffy white bread, you can feel the wheat, the sort of smoother wheaty layer that's just a bit denser in terms of its bready character. Then you've got the oats, and the oats are interesting because down the very middle line of your tongue, they're actually really quite creamy. And as you push over toward the edges of your palate there, it's got a little bit of dryness to it as well. In the dead centre of your tongue, you've got a little bit of like a Sweet Werther's Original butter candy type note, but yeah. That's really nice how that all pieces together in this one for me. So yeah, middle third of the palate I think we have covered there, to be honest with you. Really nice malt base, actually, this one. But yeah, back third of the palate is quite similar. You've got the slightly drier bread crust, the cracker, a little bit of a wholemeal brown bread layer there, which feels a little bit lighter and more airy. Then you've got the fluffy white bready layer sitting above that, which again feels a bit lighter and more airy as well. And you can feel the wheat just creeping over the top of that. And the wheat, incidentally, there has a little bit of bitiness to it, which is quite nice. And then above everything else, you've got the yeasty character out of beer, that dense, sweet, white bready character, a little bit of an almost kind of black peppery sort of note around it. It's got a little touch of spice, then a wee touch of honeycomb, and definitely back third of the palate, the flavour is taller, and as you come further forward into the middle third of your palate, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, that's nice how that goes together in this beer for sure. Yeah, the way this beer just pieces together is really, really nice. So yeah, on the I think that covers the malty side of things. On the hoppy side of the beer, it's kind of what you'd expect. In the back corners of the palate, you get a little touch of earthiness there. As you move further forward, you can feel it gets a little bit more kind of herbal, and as you push toward the kind of front corners of the palate, it's got a little bit more kind of floral aromaticity to it. But it's a bit spicy underneath, but then you do get this more kind of, I can taste the sort of hibiscusy flower type nature from that Michigan copper hop. It does taste a wee bit different in its green component, this one, compared to what I'm used to, but this is me just talking relatively. I'm obviously not madly familiar with the hop. Round the front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy, and it's quite zesty as well at the same time, which I think is great. So, little touch zesty in there, kind of grassy and zesty. Then you've got the front third of your palate where the fruity side of things kind of lay. But yeah, the backbone of that front third of your palate, there's a little bit of woodiness in there. There's a bit of a kind of fresh white bready bread crust, soft white bread on top of that. Then you've got that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So the fruity side of the beer, at the back of that front third of your palate, you do get a little touch of the grapefruit, which is obviously the Cascade. As you move further forward, I do still get a bit of a juicy kind of mango-y note with a bit of like apricot underneath, which is quite interesting because none of these hops are really supposed to give you that. So it could be some of that fruity character might well be coming from the yeast. But yeah, as you move further forward, you do start to get a slightly melony gooseberry type note underneath. Then on top of that, you've got a more kind of red fruity character. Obviously, you're going to get some strawberry flavours from Strata. It's renowned for that. Black cherry, you know, you do get a little bit of a kind of more blackberry cherry type note out of this one. You can get it, but cherries, it's not a fruit that I really eat that often, I have to say. I'm not a massive fan of cherry flavour, so I'm not overly familiar with it, but there is definitely a wee bit of that kind of blackberry-ish kind of note on top of the strawberry character. But it's a really nice take on the the style of this one, and the fruity character is quite unique and quite interesting. And as I say, it's my first encounter with Michigan Copper as a hop, but positive. I'll need to have a look out for a few other IPAs, see if I can find a single hop IPA with Michigan copper in it. But yeah, I think that's everything we need to say about the flavour. We'll just round off with a wee quick look at the mouthfeel. For me then, mouthfeel wise, this beer is kind of, yeah, it's mid-bodied, maybe pushing toward the top end of mid-body, but for a single IPA at 6% ABV, I would say this one is pretty thick actually, and it really is quite nice. On the in terms of the mouth, I'd say it's quite, it's quite smooth and creamy. Gives you a little bit of bitterness into the aftertaste too, which is interesting. So for me, the IBU count on this beer, I think it's maybe about 30, I think it's maybe the standard 30, but it's very fresh. So the perceived bitterness, the calculated bitterness, I suspect is probably about 30, but the perceived bitterness on this one, I think, is a bit higher because it's very fresh. So you're still getting a little bit of the kind of green, very slight hot burny character out of this one. But that, no doubt, it feels like it's a very fresh keg. So that will probably mellow out the more that this keg kind of goes on and the more that it kind of opens up. So yeah, wee touch of that in there, very minimal a point, doesn't really detract from the nice flavour of the beer. So the malty side of things for me, a little bit of dryness underneath, smoothness in the middle and a wee bit of sweetness on top, then you've got that lovely juicy fruity character in there. But yeah, I think that's everything we really need to say about this one, to be honest with you. This has been a really, really nice beer, and as I say, cool to come back to the style that I started with Kent Falls actually. It was 2 New England Hazy IPAs that I had from these guys about 2-3 years ago when I tried their beers. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this one. This was the Superscript, the flagship IPA, our third and final tasting then here at Kent Falls Brewing Company. So yeah, let's leave it there. I'll catch you guys in a second and I'll give you my final thoughts on the brewery very, very soon. Slàinte. So yeah guys, another thing that I just noticed on my way out of the brewery is that they have these paintings on the wall, all of which are for sale, and some of them are quite, brewery related, so I thought this was really quite nice. So yeah, just let you have a little look at these, because they're basically all along the wall. I'm by no means an art connoisseur at all, but I thought some of them were really nice. You've got a lovely boat there as well. Yeah, I thought this was quite interesting, the merchant stand with all the copper. I thought that was really nicely done. And yeah, that's pretty cool as well. The sort of pencil-y, pen type ones I thought were really nice. A nice kind of boat scene. That looks as if it's New England, or could even be Scotland of course. The fauna and things are very similar. But yeah, the grocery shop, really nice. Yeah. That's quite a nice little shop there. Cityscape. Wonder if this is meant to be. Oh, it's meant to be New York. I was going to say. I wonder if it's Hartford, but no. Another boating scene there, and over here they've got a few other ones. Yeah, that one's really cool. I like these pencil ones actually that are like that. Looks like that one looks like it could be Greece or something like that, or Madrid, Spain. It says. Yeah. Is nice too. The Garden Shed, Kent, Connecticut windmill. It's lovely. The Old American Barn. This one here. I don't know what that's. I think it's just a rope and a crab's claw. Yeah. Then these ones seem to be in a kind of group together. Series of 4, 175 each. Those are quite nice. They all look like they're from maybe France or Italy. Oh yeah, it's Italy it says. I'm not too far away of guessing what these are. But yeah, the Cloisters, New York City. It's nice as well. Sicily Town Hill. And then yeah, the Venice Canal. So yeah, a nice variety of artwork available here. I thought this was quite an interesting decoration. The corrugated iron and the rooftop and things. And of course they've got this kind of like artwork on the side of the bar here as well, so pretty cool actually. Something a wee bit different for you here. I just noticed that on my way out, but let's go out and I'll give you my final thoughts then. Alright guys, well that is my time over then here at Kent Falls Brewing Company in Kent in northwestern Connecticut. So yeah, this was very much a kind of flying visit to the brewery because there was only about an hour left when we showed up. We actually thought it closed a little bit later than it did. We got here at 5 PM, it closed at 6, we thought it was like 7 or 8. But yeah, I still managed to get 3 beers tasted, which was nice. That always gives you a good idea of what a brewery's all about. We had the Pilsner, the Saison, and then also one of the New England IPAs. All 3 of them were really solid beers actually. These guys don't have too much from the dark end of the spectrum from what I understand. They are a more obviously kind of farmhouse focused brewery, but the beer was really nice actually. These guys are very highly rated, and quite rightly so. I enjoyed their beers when I tried them 2 years ago, and they're still pretty damn solid when I come and try them here. But yeah, big shout out to Dave as well, who looked after us in the tap room. I hope we didn't annoy him too much by showing up as late as we did. But yeah, he was a nice guy, and Josh seemed to enjoy his little taster that he had as well. But yeah, that's everything here for Kent Falls. As I say, beautiful place. That lake over there that you can see just behind me is absolutely lovely. But yeah, really almost Scandinavian-esque little brewery this. So yeah, that's that. Thank you again for watching. In the meantime, check out my social media, check out Kent Falls Brewing Company social media, and we'll be back again soon with another out and about video, I'm sure, very shortly. Slàinte, skål, cheers, and again a big shout out to Dave and Josh as well for bringing me up here. Ciao just now.